Hey, hello, hello. So, welcome to another episode of Life Studied, where my good friend Mairin-taj and I get together once a month and draw and talk about art stuff. Mairin-taj, how are you?
I'm hanging in there. How are you?
Good, good. It's a tad warmer than our last
Yes,
episode
thankfully.
for January, which is like, I don't do any of the real work. I'm just drawing. Poor Mairin-taj is doing all the work and is having to deal with the weather.
Hopefully, it's inspirational enough for practice.
Yeah, some folks pointed out last week's drawings, which normally don't
Oh, really?
mention. They usually talk about the subject, and they go, "Hey, the drawings were so something was working."
Oh, great.
So yeah.
Oh, good. I guess I was cold.
um,
We're not going to be replicating that.
no. So tough if you liked last time's episodes. So we are here in downtown Lancaster, PA, at Curio. So the official name, I always say Curio is a store, but it's also a gallery and art store.
Yeah, it's a supplying gallery.
Right. And it's Curio. I'll put a link in the description. They are generous enough to host us, give us a space to work in, but they're also just good people.
Yeah.
It's run by a couple that are both artists and just know their stuff. It's nice buying art supplies from folks that like actually know what they're selling you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have a new show up.
They do.
Yeah, as we
First
walked
Friday this Friday.
Yeah. So if you're in the Lancaster area, please stop by. Tell them we sent you and thank them for hosting us. They're really nicer than we deserve, to be honest.
And they work with the community here well. Like what
do.
I think the new show is a PCAD graduate.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And even this space is used. They let a couple of other organizations in the area use it for art classes and stuff like that. So
Right. Yeah.
they're very, very, very wonderful people. And I don't say that lightly because I don't like people.
Likewise.
So also we're sponsored by the wonderful people at Blackwing. They are always fantastic. Their pencils are great. I don't do this because of an official sponsorship. I started out using Blackwing pencils because I love them, and then we partnered on some stuff. So I'll put another link in the description if you feel like buying pencils from them. They're very wonderful, and So Mairin-taj, it's February.
Month of love.
Yeah,
Supposedly.
Black History Month also.
Yes.
And a new Lunar New Year,
Lunar New Year.
right?
Yep.
The year
We're
of the
now in
snake. Is that?
I think this one is the green wood snake or the wood snake.
Wow, it's that specific.
Yeah,
Awesome.
like last year was the green wood dragon. I don't know
Okay.
if we're in like a green wood year, but yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
And that represents, I think, let me know if we get this wrong, but transformation, shedding the old, letting go of bullshit, all
Yeah.
that. So that's a
God,
cool
we need that.
theme.
Yeah, especially now.
Yeah.
Good Lord. And we just averted, sort of, maybe, a trade war with Canada and Mexico, which as artists is a tricky one. A lot of printing, a lot of film production, animation production stuff is done in Canada. Some printing is done in Mexico. So there's a lot of paper goods. There's a bunch of stuff that would have affected. So I don't know. Let's hope for the best. And there's some letting go of bullshit, like you said. We should put down a T-shirt. I'm gonna write that down. Actually, it's another Mairin-taj quote. I have your last week's one.
Oh,
here.
really?
Fire. Just letting go.
That's funny.
But you mentioned it's the month of love.
Yeah. In the past, I've done like a month of love, like love themed drawing session or like sketch demos.
That's right.
I haven't done that this year yet. I haven't started that, but maybe I'll do something special. And if I do, it'll be on my Patreon.
Yes, which I'll link in the description. If you're not a member of Mairin-taj's Patreon, you're just being dumb. The resources there are amazing. Besides the art resources, her art itself is amazing. Every Friday you post a new video. So it's good stuff. Please check them out. My goofy Patreon's on there too, but you should join hers first. But anyway, I was thinking with February, we've been talking a little bit about sort of art in the culture and a lot of the negative things that artists have to deal with. So I thought maybe we should brighten things up for February and be a little, I don't know, like talk about love and
the joy of it.
yeah, just the actual love of drawing that it takes to have a practice that you keep up with, right? Like, this isn't farming. No one's waking up in the morning because they absolutely have to, because they're
Gotta feed the nation.
yeah, you're doing this because you really love it. Not that art isn't important,
Right. Yeah.
but I guess what I mean is that if you don't do it, you know, no one's dying.
Yeah.
You're probably not affecting negatively the people around you, but you do it because you love it. And there's an argument to be made that we have to do it because it's sort of a calling.
Yeah.
Really early on in my career, I remember making a decision. I was like, it was just, this is too hard. I quit. And this is like very early on. Like, this is me. I didn't even think we had our first kid yet. And I just thought, I can't get a break. I can't get my career off the ground. So I think I'm just going to let it go. And I remember I physically got, like, I got the flu or something. I just got so sick. And I rarely get sick.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was down for days, and I remember thinking, like, what the hell? Is this just bad timing, or is this my body telling me something? And then as soon as I got out of my funk, I just started drawing again, and then it magically felt better. So I think there's something there, like you have to do this stuff just because you love it so much.
Yeah, it's a vocation.
Yeah.
You know, there's a calling. There's
Yeah.
compulsion.
I agree.
Sure.
So that's what I figured we'd talk about.
Cool.
If you're cool with it.
Yeah.
So if you're new to the show, basically we'll be talking while I'm drawing, and Mairin-taj is modeling. Mairin-taj is a pro art model and has been doing this for quite some time. So we've been lucky.
Too long.
Yeah, too long. And I've been very lucky to get to work with her for years now. So I'm very spoiled. And when you retire, I'm gonna cry. And I'm gonna do it myself. But all right, so that's what we'll do. And I'll let you do mine. You're cool with the timing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought we'd start with 3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So just.
Let's do it.
Since we have so much talking to do.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I sound weird, it's because I'm posing weird.
And you're good here till about
Okay.
there. Okay. All right. I have not warmed up, so the first couple of drawings are going to be bad. I'm sorry in advance, everybody.
Try to do some basic postal poses.
So, you got to draw, or maybe we don't start with you got to draw, but you're out there, you want to start a practice, and we're sort of talking about, I think in a way we're sort of talking about the beginning desire to want to draw before you've done anything. There's something about it that you just feel like, I got to do this. And is that love, or is that just curiosity at first, and then when does it become love? Once you've sort of been drawing for a little bit, is there some point where you're like, oh my god, this is it for me, I gotta do this?
When does it go from infatuation to true love, commitment?
Yeah. You have any thoughts on that?
You know, I like what I said earlier before we started. I'm not, no promises. I meant, like, I don't know what the hell's gonna come out of my mouth, but
yes.
but
well, sorry, that I think that was before we started recording. So what she's referring to is that I said, we've been a little militant the last couple of episodes. Maybe we should be a little light. Yeah. And Mairin-taj was like, no promises right out the gate. So
well, I just don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna come up with. But I'm thinking of. I'm just remembering, like, I started drawing early. I was regularly daily drawing at 3 years old.
Wow.
And I haven't stopped. I mean, I haven't daily drawn since.
No, I know what you mean. No.
I've been kind of, it's that compulsion. And I remember for me, I don't know, as a kid, your brain is so weird, but for me it was like a combination of imagined world drawings, like no reference.
Right.
And then I also was kind of obsessed with replicating, like it was a game for me. How can I perfectly copy, like, Pocahontas?
Oh.
The animated character.
Okay.
Or I was like Simba and Nala from Lion King or The Little Mermaid. Like I was like, I used that as a way to be like honing my mimicry skills, you know.
Well, that was your. I mean, unfortunately, we're in America, and so most people's introduction to art is something
animated.
Yeah, something entertainment based versus like, something you'd see in a museum or something. That makes perfect sense. And actually knowing you, like, of course, those are the two movies.
Yep, Pocahontas and The Little
Yeah,
Mermaid.
yeah.
And The Lion King. I was obsessed. I just like it's like a movie in my head. I was first into or second grade on the bus in the back somewhere, and like all the kids would like gather around me on like the edge of the seat in the aisle and be like, "What are you drawing?" And, "Oh, that looks just like Pocahontas."
Yeah.
You know, I was just, but I needed to like figure out how to draw that the way they drew it. Really.
Yeah, I mean, Pocahontas was a particularly striking, like visually striking film.
Yes.
It didn't feel like a lot of the other Disney films, so that makes perfect sense.
Right. But then I was also like just at night, you know, trying to get out of my head onto paper.
Yeah.
This inner world that I was discovering as children do, as individuals do, as they grow and they're like figuring their own little complex inner worlds out.
Right.
So I think maybe, I don't know where this is going. For me, I'm just like remembering the early days of I have to picture that. I have to make a picture of what is in my head. I have to find a way to do that. And then I would do it and I'd be like, you know, or like, huh.
What, just out of like, that wasn't as good as I thought it'd be, or
it'd be like, oh, that's what that is, or, you know, just you're meeting the imagined thing.
Oh, okay.
You know, like, oh, hello there,
That's
strange image.
That's really interesting.
Like I did a lot of characters. I did a lot of like fairy nymph characters running through the woods with deer and all kinds of stuff, Celtic stuff. But
I was gonna say this is you're like self-portraits via these sort of imagined characters.
and then I didn't know what to do with that. I would just amass this pursuit of capturing what was in my head until college, and my mission in the college days, I went to an art college, I went to PCAD,
Right.
was to tell stories with these images. And that's, I'm not here to tell my whole life story.
No, but I'm curious to hear, this is a love affair. How did it begin? And it's clearly, there's not a point where something clicked and you go, oh, I just fell in love. It was just always kind of there, is what it sounds like, I guess.
I think it started as a compulsion to render what I had in me and in my mind, and really render the stories that I was being told as a kid, the books I was reading, the worlds that were being conveyed to me. And then it evolved into a love of storytelling through the visual medium.
Right.
You know, and that has since evolved over the years. Like, it's not the same as it was for me as a kid, but.
So is it, if you don't mind me asking, is it the story part? Is it separate from the love of drawing itself? Like, I guess I'm trying to simplify it. Is it I need this tool to be able to do this thing, or the thing itself is enough, that's the thing that makes me happy? I think
they're separate loves, but I think they're like partners in crime, as it were.
Yeah.
Like, I love the storytelling, but I also, I've been drawing with graphite since I was 3, so like for me it's just very meditative and familiar and cozy and
yes.
And also just like satisfying.
Meditative is a great word for it, honestly. I've said probably in the past here, but I've said it to friends, like, I don't need to meditate because I draw.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds to me like, I think probably many artists have a sort of, they have an origin point, but they don't have a point where they go, this is when I fell in love.
Right.
Maybe folks out there do, and I'd honestly love to hear, like, if you're in the comment section,
yeah,
I'd love to hear, like, was there some lightning bolt? Like, did you look at some painting and go, oh God, that's for me? Or did it slowly creep up on you? Because that's I don't know. That's the story that's interesting, I guess, to me is um, so much of my life now with art is tied into some business thing, right? Like right now, um, not to pitch yet again, but Life Study began as an art book series, and I'm kickstarting a new volume of the book as we speak. It's about to launch. So I'm recording this. We're recording this Tuesday morning. The campaign should be launched like this afternoon, probably, or Wednesday.
Nice.
So, but the point is like I feel like often I'm always linking everything to a project, right? A thing that like is business related in some way.
Yeah.
And so February's just got me thinking, where does this stuff really, like, what's the purest version of this thing where I'm not so wrapped up in I need to make a thing so that I can then, make a project out of it. And I say business, but it's not even necessarily money related. It's just everything has to have a job, kind of.
Right, a purpose.
Yeah, and I there's a part of me that would like to get away from that. And the closest thing I have to it are I have these series of drawings that I give usually family members that no one's ever seen. So they're not for anything. And those are always very fulfilling. I don't know if that's the right word, but and I guess that's where I'm at with this question. Like is love, like, do you need to have that kind of a thing to be an artist? I don't even know if I'm asking this question in a way that makes sense. But I mean, could you? I feel like I've known so many vain artists that like don't seem to love this stuff.
Yeah, that's a good.
So I'm wondering, is it necessary? I guess is my question. Like, do you have to love this to be able to pursue it?
Ooh, I'm gonna put my foot down because that was
Yeah, that's
20
fine.
seconds.
That's fine.
I'm gonna touch on this in my monthly newsletter this month because I'm in my own practice lately. I've been going, even with my newsletter, even with my sketchbook series, I'm like, it's become, okay, what am I doing for the purpose of the newsletter, and then how am I going to take that content from the newsletter and do all the other stuff with it? And I'm like, I don't want to, I'm getting sick of that.
Yes.
It's just putting me off doing the newsletter. So
I think that's where I'm clumsily trying to get to that, is like, can you do this without, let me make sure you're not in a frame. Yeah, we're here. Do we need that love to be able to pursue it, or just some people can just do it and don't care about loving the practice? And is not doing purely the love stuff. God, I don't have a good way to ask this question, but
stuff.
you know what I mean? But if you're not like, if you're not doing this like in the way that you're saying, right? You're sort of stuck. We're all sort of stuck in this having to make content to tell people about our projects so that we can then make more projects.
Well, that's what I was thinking about. That's what prompted my new, like, this month's theme was like, I was just thinking to myself, I need to figure out a way back into, like, in my body, feeling good about, feeling okay with, feeling enough when I do a sketch and I can just tell someone, yeah, there's no purpose to this. I just did it. Like, this isn't, I don't have to outline like the plan for what the next studies of it are going to be, which will then turn into a finished drawing, which will then turn into the next painting. It's like, it doesn't even have to go anywhere. I just want to be able to say, yeah, it just, for whatever reason, like, this came out one day and
that's all there is to it. Yeah. And I think
it's been a while since I've been in that place. I think we do that though as artists. We kind of turn stuff into content or into projects or into jobs. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why the gift thing is fresh in my mind. Is the only time I draw where it's not for some business venture. I don't even post that stuff online. Like, no one's seen it unless they've come to my house. And there's always a funny reaction because my wife has like the biggest collection of my stuff. Aww.
And it's very sweet. She hangs it all up. Actually, that's not 100% true because she's run out of wall space. So
She did, but then
yeah,
yeah.
there's too much stuff, and there's like themes to it, and I do this. I'll follow a theme like year after year for her, just because it's it's done out of love, right?
Yeah.
So. And it got me thinking. There's another friend of mine that has a newsletter. She's talking about smaller communities and having to use that as a way to like get away from some of the capitalistic tendencies that are like creeping into everything we want and have to do.
Right. Yeah.
And it made me think of the stories I would hear, because my wife's from Greece, and when they switched from the local currency, the drachma, to the euro, that was really, really, really difficult for especially older people to make that transition, right? Like you have, oops, give me a second, I bumped this. You have people who've like socked away all this money under their bed somewhere, and now all of a sudden it doesn't have the value they had before. And so I would hear these stories about there's still a lot of mountain villages, and they would just come up with like a kind of local currency. Like they'd say, a bag of flour is worth this much goat's milk, or one goat mean like you could trade it for this many hours of labor. Things like that, and it sounds like something from another time altogether.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking like it was so inspirational to me, because I'm like that. I mean, everybody wants to make a living and doesn't want to live in a mountain village. I get that.
I might want to live in
Yeah, you might. But just the idea of saying, we're gonna be as self-sufficient as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And get away from chasing all the stuff that you people are chasing, and then when you figure out what you're doing, we'll join back in. But until then, we're gonna trade flowers for goat milk or whatever. And I don't know. I love that too, and I feel like I don't know where an artist fits into that. I know where an artisan can, right? Like if you are a stonemason, you can say, well, I can do this kind of work on, because a lot of those houses are still made out of stone or some version of it, which is also kind of cool. But where does an artist fit into a community like that? If you just want to do stuff for love and not try to be the next big, art rock star.
Right. Oh, I can relate to that for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it actually kind of puts me in mind of in ancient times in various parts of the world, like the Druids were the storytellers and the keepers of the cultural knowledge and wisdom, and effectively art, the poetry.
Right.
And that eventually turned into, court jesters or whatever. And the minstrels who memorize all of the songs and tales.
Yeah.
And they're the entertainers, and they bring not only the literal words of the story to people's ears, but they emote those stories. God,
you're right, because there is still then a place for artists in a community that maybe that doesn't seem to make any sense, right? Like we need people who can carry heavy things, not draw nice pictures. But there's a history of that being important already.
Humanity's had there are people around the world who, in the culture they were in, their role was to bring, remind us of a love story, or remind us of a tragic story, or bring us into our heart space or our emotions, or, lessons that we've learned and forgotten. And I think artists, loosely speaking, are in that kind of category.
I think you're right. I mean, it reminds me of like African griots and like the Greek poets. Like, I remember hearing a story. It came in the context of we were talking to our kids, because they're Greek, so we're talking to our kids about just learning things, memorizing things, and the story of a poet. And like you said, they were hired for entertainment. And he was at an event where
you want to do 5 minutes?
Some big dinner. Yeah, sure. This big dinner, and he's reciting these epic poems that we all read now as part of the entertainment. And the building collapses. I forget what the cause. I forget if it was an earthquake or what.
Oh shoot!
And this guy survives it, and is because of him is able to tell everybody, because these epic poems are, this is a like a power lifter of memorization, right?
Yes, yes.
So this guy had loosely memorized where everyone was sitting, and so he could tell everybody where their loved one was.
Oh, wow.
Right? Which is just like, you don't think of the arts being that directly necessary, but without the practice of art, who would tell you this is where your grandfather was sitting?
Right.
And that particular corpse, although
Yep.
perhaps not recognizable, is
Right.
probably your loved one. And
Because of those memorization
Yeah.
and like observational skills.
yeah, and the funeral rites were a huge deal, right? Like,
Wow.
so you saying that made me think, holy shit, yeah, there is a really direct need for arts, even if you don't think there is.
I would say that I mean, again, you can find it in every culture around the world. For me, I'm just thinking of the Druids and the Celts, because that's
that's your thing,
ancestry.
yeah.
But I think that is like the lineage of artists nowadays. Like that's where we've come from.
Yes.
Through time.
Yes.
We've just, because of social mores and cultural paradigm, like we now have to be like, this is the project I'm doing this week, guys.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Which I suck at. I really don't like to do that. I mean,
yeah.
there's an element. Don't get me wrong. There's a quality of like sharing your process and bearing your heart and soul for people who are interested, and bringing people along on the journey. That's very valuable, and I don't want to say no to that.
No, I got you. Yeah.
There's a commercialization element to it, and especially with social media, where it's like, ugh.
Yeah, and I knowing you, I know exactly what you mean. Hopefully, it's clear to everyone else. It sucks. Like you're not gonna go and sell yourself on Instagram, going, here, because you see it often. Like here's an artist, but they're not showing their art. They're showing like, I've seen, especially with women artists, there's like this movement to go, here's me about to paint. I just happen to be wearing a bikini. Or, here's me about to paint, and I'm wearing this dress. And I'm like, so it's you first, then art.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm not knocking it. It's fine. Do your thing. I'm not gonna knock anyone's hustle. But I get that, and you are. I'm not trying to. I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but you're very good looking. You have movie star good looks. You could totally do that. Nah, you could. You could totally do this, but you're making an active decision to rebel against that.
Yes, and I like there's this one chick I just saw. I don't remember what her name is, but it doesn't matter. She's like doing these live demo story reels of like her like slamming paint onto a canvas on the wall, which is fine.
Yeah.
But like she's doing it with like no bra under her overalls.
Right.
And like all you're really looking at, even me, like I'm just looking at her side boob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes you, to get back to the theme here, makes you question, do you really love the making of the art?
Yes, right.
Or is it the whatever version of fame you think is coming from, hey, I'm cute and I make art, whatever.
Right.
And that's not going to sustain you if you care about the art.
Yes.
If you don't, then more power to you, fine.
Right.
But I guess what I'm saying is I know how much you love the art.
Yeah.
And you're making a conscious decision, because I can't do that.
Right.
I can't.
I have made a conscious decision to not put on a bikini and
paint.
myself.
Right. And I think that comes from love, like love of the thing.
Yeah.
The art is first.
Priorities.
The whatever fleeting fame that might come of it is a low second compared to the art for you.
For me, for sure. Yes, for sure. And that bothers me sometimes. Like I'll think about it and I'll just be like, I could just get on there and be like, look at me, kissy face.
Yeah, duck lips or whatever you call it.
And sometimes I get really angry about it.
I would imagine, especially being a woman, like they shouldn't have to do all this horse shit to like make the work that's important to you.
There was this one, I don't remember, I don't know, doesn't matter, but there was this one very young, like 20 something, I want to say maybe Russian or Ukrainian artist who is like.
Oh wait, have you shown me this woman?
I don't know.
This sounds really familiar.
She was kind of like not too long out of art school, university, and she had been very classically trained.
Right.
Like the Russian artists really love.
Which is very common in Russia, obviously. Yeah.
And she was just like blowing up. Like every single photo or story on her page was just very like huge ass painting, her in a nice outfit,
right.
and like everyone's loving it. And someone was asking her in the comments, someone was saying like, how do you find being an artist as a job? Like, is it difficult? What are the challenges of it? What do you think? And she's just has this very sunny, buoyant personality, but she's like, no, it's so easy. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the sort of influencer attitude.
Yeah, but
towards
I was also wondering, like, is she just, like, she just knows the right people and she was just kind of given the right sort of...
Yeah, or she just grew up with social media and all the rules that are sort of unwritten, but you pick them up.
True, yeah,
Right?
you're right.
Everything is always positive, unless you can benefit from it.
Right.
Everything is always good. Everything's always great. My life's amazing. Here's me in Paris. Here's me in Barcelona. Here's me at another gallery opening.
Put the cute beret on.
Yeah, and I want to be very careful. I don't have a dog in that fight. Like, do that thing.
Yeah.
Because to me,
It
it's
works.
separate from what we're talking about.
Yes.
We're talking about
Yes.
a love for a thing that will sustain you when those followers stop following you.
Yeah.
When you're not
Yeah.
20 anymore and
Right.
no one is following you for those reasons.
Right.
Have you done, and if it's the one I think you showed me, she's clearly talented.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it feels surfacey.
Yeah, I was just going to say, does it go deeper?
Yeah, and it feels like a thing that goes away fairly easily. So, whereas your practice, like I said, I think you've made that conscious decision to not take that route, and you totally could. And so I think that is the maybe it's not the more beneficial financially. I don't know what this woman is doing with her work.
Right.
I'm also surprised how often these people will take this influencer route and to like no end. You got a bunch of followers, but then what?
Right. Yeah, that's a whole other thing too.
Right. So I think our point here is that if you have a genuine love for drawing and it's something you feel compelled to do, it's probably going to sustain you in a more enriching way. You'll get more out of it, even if you never get a big gallery show or something. Like you're still you can hold your head up and feel like I'm still following a tradition and a practice that I'm proud of.
I think it sounds like we're kind of connecting the love for a thing. I don't know, is that the right way to say it? How do I say this? There's a difference between the love for a thing and doing it to make an impact or to get somewhere with it.
Yeah, it's not a means to an end.
Yeah.
You hope that you can do work that people will have interests in, and you can do things with it. But you don't, look, I mean, this is also a silly reason to like, or not a reason perhaps, it's a silly way to decide I'm going to pursue fame. Like as an artist,
Yes, that's a great way to put that. Right. Like, well, I mean, there are so many, I think if you truly have a deep respect and love and kind of like philosophical like drive for a thing, like an artist's.
Right.
That means that you can produce for the rest of your life.
Correct.
And no one has to see it. Maybe you have like a basement full of paintings and you do quiet shows here and there and your name is never known. You're not gonna go down in history. But like you're making beauty in the world.
Yeah, and you yourself are fulfilled.
And you yourself.
Because like, what does it fucking matter?
Yeah.
If you're famous after your death.
Right.
Like to you personally, what does it matter?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if I can make a living and continue to make art, that's my end goal and that's wonderful and I'm happy. But to like pursue anything past that or to like, I don't know, man. Like it, I feel I should add a caveat that like I feel sometimes self-conscious talking like this because I have been very lucky and I do have an audience and people do look for my work. So
yeah.
But I feel like even if that hadn't happened for me, I'd still, I'd need to pursue some version of this.
Yeah, I think that's I get what you're saying. I think that's really good. They're not mutually exclusive.
No.
But they're not, inherently intertwined either.
Yeah, and we have to pursue patrons. Like artists throughout history have needed someone to patronize their work, or else how do you make the work?
Yeah.
And I get that, but I'm hoping that if you're out there listening and thinking, do I want to do this? You can get past all the stuff you're seeing online and just remind yourself that the end result should be, I am doing a thing I enjoy. If I can pursue it further, then please do. But don't beat yourself up if you see someone getting millions of likes because they're painting in a bikini.
Right. Right.
Because your love is probably deeper than that.
Yes, I love that. This whole world, I feel like this world needs more like the demonstration of love, commitment in love, more than just the infatuation stage and the throwaway love. Whatever we're talking about, whether it's human relationships or creativity.
Yeah, because look, you cannot pursue this passively. It does take a commitment to it, right? Like
it takes a toll.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, I mean, I just love when I find, there's that word again. Like I just meet a person who I just learn is an artist of some sort, and then you in some casual sort of amicable way discover their latest piece, or they're showing you what they're doing in their sketchbook, and you just feel the love of it.
Yes.
Or like you discover this person who is a practicing professional artist, but you've never heard of them, and most people will never hear of them, but they're still going to be making art, and they're still going to be fulfilled by it.
I agree.
It's such
I love that.
I think that's the kind of the crime that the internet has created in the world, is like it fools us into thinking that if it doesn't have fame, then it doesn't exist.
Oh God, yes.
You know
yes.
what I
mean? That's the, you hear artists complaining all the time, like, I can't figure out the algorithm.
Right.
Which is like, I get what you're saying, I really do, but like, please, as quickly as you can, get past that.
Yes, right. Yes.
Because it's just going to make you unhappy, and you will start to connect your art practice, to that feeling.
Yes.
And I've heard people literally say like, what's the point? The algorithm will show my work to people. Or you'll see, people posting TikToks or YouTube shorts or whatever, saying essentially some version of that. Like, no one will look at my art. And I'm thinking, dude, like, join the club. Like there's hundreds and hundreds of years of artists who, look at an art history text of any caliber, and you're going to see stories of like, this person wasn't known in their lifetime to be wealthy or famous, or they died poor or without any patrons. And those are the ones we know about. Let's be frank, those are the dudes.
Yeah.
How many women artists, like, no one was going to give. So, well, you'll see right now Artemisia Gentileschi's having kind of a moment with women artists. I keep seeing people reproduce her work, and I remember it in art school and thinking, that's amazing work, and it just feels very current. But like, for every one of her, God, there's thousands and thousands of artists that no one's ever heard of that still got amazing and still pursued art, and they should have gotten a shot. But this isn't sports, right? This isn't boxing. It isn't like, I could have been a contender.
Yeah.
And I hope that that's not the point for folks when they decide to pursue drawing.
Yeah, I agree. I got a comment on one of my posts a few weeks ago or something. Some person was like, they said something like, not blowing my mind, or not a wow factor.
What?
Not amazing, or something like that.
Yeah, there's
like,
always some shithead. Yeah.
Said, keep them coming. And I was like, okay, I see your point, and I had to respond. I'm like, look, I'm not on the one social media platform I have because I'm begging for likes. I don't care if you like it or not.
I'm certainly not here for you. Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think more artists need to kind of maybe show that grit a little more.
Yes.
In terms of social media or the external world, because I think that's part of the responsibility of artists, to educate the public about the purpose or where they're coming from or what their motivation is.
Correct.
So that we can, kind of, just try to re-educate people, because art education has been abysmal for so long.
Oh God, yeah. But also, his wording is kind of telling.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not blowing my mind. Well, it's not a. I'm gonna curse a lot. I'm sorry. It's not a circus. I'm not looking to blow your mind, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not.
Right.
This isn't a tightrope act.
Right.
If that's what you want, Jesus Christ, it's Instagram. There's plenty of that bullshit for you.
Yes.
Go elsewhere. You don't need to be here giving me shit because I didn't juggle enough chainsaws for you.
Right.
Yeah. It's we're talking two different things, and these folks are not. They don't. It doesn't matter. I don't want to beat up on the internet, but the point is that I'm hoping if anybody takes anything away from this discussion, is that like you really want to do this because you love it, and then you can take jabs like that from some asshole online, because to you it doesn't, like, you're not gonna stop loving it because some jackass said, "Oh,
yeah,
could have had more blue," or whatever in it. It's not enough sparklers. So yeah, that to me, that's the perfect lesson.
Yeah, it was just sort of like, okay, and
Yeah.
you're missing the point, guy. You don't understand the love factor here.
Yeah. So we're at 42 minutes.
All right, you want to do another, or you were good?
We'll do a short one.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap it up. Yeah, I think that's and probably that is the point of this discussion is. That's not going to undo you if you love the thing, and young artists, that's enough often to just derail people like significantly. Just one really, really negative, nasty comment, one person attacking their work, which, you and I had to probably deal with that like in person, which makes it,
sure.
you develop a different kind of, I don't want to say toughness, but when someone is in your face going like, yeah, I think this sucks, like someone doing it online, hiding behind their screen, it has less of an impact.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's also comes from loving this thing so much that like I'm not willing to let some troll really, and we should be careful because we're probably going to get trolled in the comment section.
Well, in connection with the whole, month of love theme and this idea of relationship as well, because I think the artist has absolutely a relationship with the work and with the invocation or vocation.
Right.
Just the analogy of like, you're not going to let some nobody or some idiot or some passerby or some acquaintance be like, oh, I don't like your relationship to your partner.
Yes.
Like, okay, I don't fucking care.
Tough shit. Yeah, you would never.
Yeah.
I always thought that guy wasn't good enough for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy.
Like, what do you know? You're not in the relationship.
Yeah. And also, tough. Like, you're not. Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. We love the practice. Maybe the individual drawings people think that that's what this is. Like, I attacked this one drawing, and that is the thing you love, and so now I've landed a blow. Yeah. And that's not it at all. That's not it at all.
That's a good note for younger or any less experienced or student artists. Yeah. Is like, don't be so committed to the one thing you made.
Right.
Make it more about the bigger picture.
Exactly.
So that one thing that's less popular doesn't kill you.
I think that's a perfect place to end the show. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you got something out of this.
Yeah, hopefully we elevated your spirits a little bit.
Yeah.
If we knocked them down last month.
Yeah, and maybe going into spring we'll be more happy-go-lucky with our episodes. Anyway, thank you for watching. We appreciate all of you guys. Again, check out the links to our Patreons. Mairin-tajers will be in the description. Is there any place you'd like them to look? You mentioned Instagram.
Instagram is like where if I do them, I'll give my updates on Instagram. So studio_Mair.
And your newsletter, can they get that any particular place?
Oh yeah, like there's links on my Instagram and then on my website.
Okay.
Is also linked on my.
So there you go. I will put the links to our Patreon, and if you want, I can do your newsletter in there too. It's up to you. And thanks again to the folks at Curio for supporting us and letting us use this awesome studio space. Thanks again to the folks at Blackwing. I'll put a link for them in the description, and that's it. See you guys next month. Thank you. And let's end this. Oopsie. I wonder how many people stay this long into the show and watch me fumble with their phone.